I remember him telling me I'm supposed to be stoned to death. So I remember when I was thoroughly beaten in a bank for the case of being impersonation. I also remember when I was beaten somewhere because I went to ladies' washroom.
Every day, thousands of children are born. There are those who are born with complications, others healthy. There are those who are born intersex. This is not their choice.
As I was growing, my body was growing to the opposite side. I'm a survivor of more than 5 suicide attempts.
Life 360. Meet Ryan Mwiruri, who was born intersex in a world where most only know that a human being is only either a man or a woman. Ryan was born with both organs.
I think the most hardest part in me is introducing myself, because I do have two legal identity. One is what I was registered, because when I was born, I was registered as Ruth Wangui, and later I changed to Ryan Mwiruri. So those are my both legal names. I was born, actually I don't know the exact day or the exact month I was born, but I know the year. That's more than that years ago. My journey started when I was born, and my mom and her best doctor, or maybe the midwife, maybe also, I could not tell the sex that I was born with, so they could not tell whether I was a baby girl or I was a baby boy. With that confusion, my mom decided to take me as a girl and registered and gave me the name after her beloved mother, that is Ruth Wangui, and my journey started there. But I knew I was different when I was about 5 years old, because I grew up at my maternal's grandmother. So, it was a big family. So many times they were talking about me, they could refer, so I knew something was different. But at that time I could not tell what was the difference. Until when we were praying with other kids, and as you know how children sometimes pray, they undress. So some children noticed I was different, and they started laughing at me, telling me I look different. So that's the time I was able to connect the dots, what maybe the family has been talking about, and myself. I never had the courage to face my mom, to ask her, because every time maybe my name could be mentioned, I realized he was so stressed and he was crying a lot. So I never wanted to stress her more. Maybe what I decided, what was coming in my mind was like maybe it's because maybe I'm young, maybe things will change, or maybe other children are just making fun of me. But that thing started affecting me as young as I was. It also affected my education because I could not attend my classes fully. Because as you know, children are so genuine, they don't know how to keep secret. So the rumors or the story spreaded much in the whole school where I was studying. Now when I go to the toilet, everyone wants to know whether I squat or I stand. And they want to see what other children are saying they saw in me. So it became hard for me to handle the pressure. So I started skipping my classes. And now the family started punishing me because they thought I'm becoming naughty and don't want to go to school anymore. So they were beating me so badly. I remember they even took me to police because to them they thought I was just becoming naughty. So I even had that behavior of I could wake up very early in the morning, dress up and pretend that I'm going to school. But instead of going to school, I could look for a place to hide myself and wait for people to leave the school in the evening hours, and then I join them and get back home and pretend I was in school. That continued that way until it affected my education completely. At this time, I was growing as well. It reached to a point whereby, our society, mostly when our African culture, when you give birth to a baby girl, what they first see is they see a wife to someone and a mother to someone. But as I was growing, my body was growing to the opposite side. So people started asking, what type of a girl is this? Because there are those expectations that a girl should stay this way, a boy should stay this way. So it also became a village affair. And people started even organizing, questioning. At some point I can remember many incidences whereby some young people or young men managed to undress me because they wanted to check, because they thought I'm just weird. I became the talk of the town, which affected me so badly. And I was so stressed, into depression, and what could come in my mind was a suicidal thought. And it was not only that, because I even attempted. I'm a survivor of more than 5 suicide attempts, but it all went unsuccessful. You can imagine that time I had grown too much masculine, going to girls' school, and I'm not comfortable wearing skirts, and I'm the talk of the town. So what I did, I dropped and I ran away from home. I started staying alone. I think I was about 14 or 15. I always hear people of my age saying they miss their childhood. But for me, I can say I never ever miss anything in my childhood or in my teenage, because it was horrible everywhere I could go. Because I was also brought up in a very Christian-based family, whereby at the time, girls were not even allowed to wear on trousers. So it was even hard for me, because what I could do, I could steal maybe my brother's trouser and wear it when I look outside the family setup. So I never wanted to interact with people. I never wanted to talk to people. And then I never felt loved. So I developed the habit of believing that I'm stupid, I'm useless. So in my early age, I never did something because I thought nothing good can come from me. So I remember him telling me I'm supposed to be stoned to death because I'm the reason why the area was facing that drought, because I'm a cursed child. And at this time, I also remember I had my ID, which was a threat to me, because every time I could present it, people started questioning me for impersonation, fraud, or maybe something. So I remember when I was thoroughly beaten in a bank for the case of being impersonation. I also remember when I was beaten somewhere because I went to ladies' washroom and I met a woman who started screaming, there is a man hiding in the female's toilet, maybe want to rape me or something. And mob gathered. So I was also beaten up thoroughly. And then, so from there, and I attempted to commit suicide many times, but in the last time, that's the time I decided. At that time, I didn't even know how to say it. I didn't even know what it's being called, because there were no research, there were no documentation, and also coming from the rural area, whereby you feel like I'm not that educated, so I could not get or understand what was happening. But at that time, in that sick bed, I made a decision. It does not matter whether I'm a man or a woman. It does not matter who I am, but I have to stand firm. And I have to stand and tell the world now, here I am. I'm not going to hide anymore, because all what I'm facing is because I'm hiding myself. Now I'm going to the public, and I'm going to tell them, yes, I exist, and allow them to kill me. I don't have to struggle to kill myself. I'm going out to the public and tell them I'm here. If they want to kill them, let them do. That's the time I give my story out, and the feedback was shocking. At that time, I've never met an intersex person. I've never known if they exist or not. But after that, the feedback was so shocking when many people reached to me saying, like, I'm also the same, I have a child. I was touched so much when a certain man called me and gave me a sad story whereby he had an intersex boy who started having menstruation when he was in class, and he was bullied. And then after that bullying, he committed suicide. So that was so touching, and that was the story that gave me courage to stand, because and even many people called me, mostly women, telling me they were forced to kill their own children to save their marriage. And then, so those were shocking stories that made me to say, like, yes, I have to stand in that gap and do something. 80% of intersex persons are raised by single parents because it brings a lot of violence in the family and blame. And mostly women are left with the intersex children. So it contributes to even poverty. It contributes to when maybe a woman is left by their husband or their family, they end up hating the intersex children because they feel they are the cause of that. The government are taking steps of having the task force, and then after the task force, we have the implementation committee, and then census, which was a big thing because in the history of Africa and the entire world, having intersex counted separately, which we managed to have 1,524. It may sound a small number, but to me that's a big number, because I was trying to address a question like I was always asked, like, how many intersex are there? And people thought maybe it was me, or maybe 2 or 0 of us. But now having them, and the other good, they're having 1524. And also the other good thing is distribution, because you could see not even a single county that counted 0. One thing I can say, like, maybe we can't tell, maybe by the virtue of looking of eyes, but the body itself can tell. So one thing that led me to decide, it was not a matter of if I want or not. It was the body itself, because at that time, the hormones are responding to the body, the gonads that internally can respond and all that. So it was not a matter of I'm changing or not. The body itself could tell. And that's the time I started to adapt a different name, that is Ryan Mwiruri. And then I started a journey of changing it legally, which it has been the worst experience I can tell. And I felt like it was, but having the identity as Ruth, it was a threat to me, because the things that I have faced with that ID, sometimes I even feel comfortable saying I don't have, rather than presenting that ID because it lays. You can imagine how tough it can be, because you cannot even access the simple things like M-Pesas. But the challenge is changing the sex marker. because there is, even as we speak, there is no a profession that someone can change from male to female. And to me, it was not making any sense changing Ruth and having Ryan, but still retain female in it. But I can say I managed to get a new birth certificate on 2nd September this year, indicating Ryan Moirore as male officially. And now that ready to another fight now to change the other documentation. That is now the national ID and passports, academic certificates, and so. An intersex is whereby a child is born with unclear sex. Maybe by the virtue of our naked eyes. We check what is between the legs. In this instance, you find that you cannot tell what sex of that child at that time. And maybe, and if you can try to guess, it can also appear in a teenager or in adolescence it, or later in life. There are instances whereby you can only tell later in life. And it's also contributed by the genetic makeup, gonads, and the organs. When I talk of the organs, it's the organs that we see. And when I talk of gonads, it's the organs that we don't see, such as uterus, testicles, ovaries, and all that. And also hormone makeup. As we all know, like maybe a woman need estrogen, a man need testosterone for their body to function. And also in terms of chromosome pattern, a human being need a pair of chromosome, that is XX for female or XY for male. But in intersex cases, you find there is a mixture of all those I've mentioned. Maybe you find like what you have between the legs is contradicting with the hormones that is within your body, or maybe the chromosome. Maybe you find like you are having an extra instead of having a pair of XX or XY, you are lacking one pattern. Maybe we say you're having XO, you don't have the second pattern to make you female or to make you male. Or you are having an additional pattern. Either it can be X or Y, so you have XXY. So that affects the whole makeup, because about the biological is not only what is between the legs. It starts from the brain. We have the sex brain and all down the road to the organs, what we see. So when you find there is that mixed up of the pattern, that's now when you say like we cannot tell who this child is. And in many cases, many intersex persons who are raised as girls, because it's so easier to assume this is a girl. If maybe you don't, there are some things you don't see clearly. And also in medical perspective, you find many people has gone through surgical process trying to correct what I can say is a cosmetic, trying to correct them to be female. Because many people can agree with me or thinking making a woman is easier more than making a man, because it's just a matter of drilling a hole. And if now you can be told to drill a hole or make a mountain, you choose to make a hole because it's so easier. So many people intend to think intersex persons are female. But now when you are assigned any sex, it comes with gender roles, because the starting is the sex, but after sex there is now gender, and now the gender roles. Now everyone wants to be a girl. They said you are, or vice versa. So you have to socialize and do everything as one. So that affects you when you feel you are not that person. And I will start as early age, as a child. If now you have two children, a boy and a girl, and you have a dolly and a ball, and you press in front of them, automatically the boy will take a ball and the girl will take a doll without even telling them, because there is something, there is the wiring inside them telling them who they are. The same case with intersex. So you find it's affecting your social because you want to take that ball to play with, but your parent or the society is forcing you to take a dolly to play with because they have registered you as a girl, or vice versa. So that will affect you as a child because you feel you have no freedom for the expression for who you are. Women were attracted to me, even the time I could not know. So I could realize many women behaving differently when they are around me. But I was trying to hide because I never wanted to be involved in any scandal or any, because I was afraid maybe to people to start saying, like, you see, it's a bad omen, that's why you are doing this, or maybe. So I was trying to behave myself. To me at that time, it was not creaking, but now it creaks. Like, many women were coming to me, not because they want me, but it was that curiosity, you know, because they think there is a vagina here, there is a penis here, there is all that.
It was found necessary that we have the eye be included in the census. And for 2019, for information, we had 1,524 intersex persons, which in my opinion are actually not the true numbers, because globally you are aware that between 0.5 to 0.7 of the entire population is intersex. So going by these kind of figures, it means in Kenya we have about 335,000 to 700,000 intersex persons. And for sure now, you know, with this kind of recognition by the government and the census, as a commission and through IPIC, we've gone out now, you know, to kind of lobby even more to kind of articulate for the intersex persons. And right now I'm seeing a lot, I mean, quite good numbers. You know, we're working with right now the CBC, you know, CBC is on. We have a committee from, you know, the commission and from the committee giving the recommendation that we want to have intersex children be streamlined within the system because they face a lot of challenges, and that's why we don't have most of them even making up to the highest level, you know, to their capacity because of stigma, discrimination, being harassed, you know, by their students, because intersex persons, you know, body starts now manifesting during their teenagehood. We're talking to our medics because most intersex children have been, in the name of, you know, corrective surgeries which are irreversible, have been mishandled. At times they chop off the right thing. When the body starts now, you know, kind of responding, during teenage you realize that you made the wrong mistake. I've personally undergone over, actually the last corrective surgery I had is hardly 2 weeks ago.
Intersex persons, if they were to come to my office seeking legal advice or my services, I would be happy to represent them within the constitutional framework and the Bill of Rights. Children who are in that situation are classified among the children in need of care and protection. We have a new Children Act 2022, which came into force in July, which has recognized intersex persons, has defined who they are. It's a first in Africa and actually in the world. And we are happy because the Children Act has generated rights which are specific to the intersex child. For instance, they have their right to bodily autonomy and integrity. What has happened in the past is that they've been subjected to what was called corrective surgeries in a bid to place them in the male-female gender. It was unfortunate because it was in a terrain where we did not have a law. Now the Children Act has generated an offense such that if you do an organ change on an intersex person, you are going to get yourself in prison for up to 5 years. Unless, of course, with situations where there is an urgent need or there's a crisis or an approved situation.
Until next time, thank you for watching and kindly consider subscribing to our YouTube channel for such informative stories, and also share with your contacts, and your comments will equally go a long way. My name is Robbie Omondi. See you soon.